Ah, the early 1990s. What a time to be alive. You really had to be there to believe it. Neon windbreakers were the height of fashion. Blockbuster video was thriving, providing many a family entertainment to bring home on the weekend in the form of VHS tapes. And the Nintendo Entertainment System graced millions of homes all throughout the world. But Nintendo knew technology was changing, and was constantly keeping up with that technology. In 1991, North America saw the release of the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, a console with superior visuals, sound, and gameplay abilities. Things weren't necessarily the way they are today, where gamers were ready to ditch the old console at the moment's release of the new one. Many people wanted to still hang on to their reliable old NES, and Nintendo was happy to accommodate, at least in some cases. More often than not, these cases were movie-to-video game adaptations, which already had multi-platform aspirations. During this era, we'd see releases such as Hook, Terminator 2, Batman Returns, Wayne's World, Jurassic Park, and yes, Alien 3, all have versions across the big consoles at the time: Nintendo, Sega, and Super Nintendo. But again, it wasn't at all like it is today. This wouldn't be like comparing releases between a PS5 or PS4 or Xbox One or One S or even Switch release. Today, each will certainly come with graphical differences and some gameplay differences, but in essence, it would be the same game. Back in the early 90s era, the differences we'd see between the Nintendo, Sega, and Super Nintendo versions were vast. Due to the significant technological differences and limitations of certain consoles, these games were different from the ground up. Each would offer a distinct gameplay experience. For today's video, I wanted to take a look specifically at the NES version of Alien 3. This was released just about a year after the theatrical release of the film in March of 1993, coinciding closer with the home video release of the film. I have my own personal copy here, complete in box, and I wanted to take a closer look at the game today. This won't be so much as a walkthrough, as more of an overview, a general review of the game, so let's first take a look at the offerings promised when a gamer in 1993 took a look at the back cover. On the back we have a production image of the scary, snarling alien, a description, and some screen caps from the game. The aliens are fast, spit acid, and are right behind you. The motion tracker is your only warning. No time to think, no time to catch your breath. Run. Can't see very far ahead in these air ducts. Hard to breathe. Facehuggers can be anywhere. You have the firepower. Blast the aliens with your machine gun, flamethrower, and grenade launcher. You know what you have to do. Rescue the trapped prisoners and end this nightmare. Just keep telling yourself, this isn't really happening. It's only a game. 3 exclamation points there, so you know they're serious. Each of the images comes with a caption further describing the gameplay. Search for trapped prisoners in a maze of tunnels. The motion tracker is your only warning of alien attack. Feel the suspense. Aliens can be lurking anywhere. Feel the danger. Blast the xenomorph with your flamethrower. Feel the terror when you discover what's become of the prisoners. You might recall those last 3 captions are actually a nod to one of the film's taglines. 3 times the suspense, 3 times the danger, 3 times the terror. Sounds like a promising tie-in game. Sounds like a thrilling, action-packed adventure where you can unload your arsenal onto an army of aliens. But hey, wait a minute, you may be telling yourself. Wasn't there only one alien in Alien 3? Wasn't the whole point of the movie that there were no weapons, and they were pretty much helpless to defend themselves? I can assure you, you're not misremembering the movie. That is the case, but let's just say this game took some liberties with the concept in order to deliver a certain kind of gameplay. But let's open this puppy up, so to speak, and take a closer look at the game's manual. It opens with a general description of both the game and movie's plot. The future is now. As they are propelled through the infinite depths of space, Ripley, Newt, and Hicks hypersleep within their cryotubes. Unaware that, by the insensitive hand of fate, their long journey is about to be prematurely interrupted. Also unknown to the hypersleeping Ripley is the fact that an alien has managed to infest itself within her. Its brain, responding to an unusual malfunction, the ship Sulaco ejects the EEV containing the cryotubes. As the Sulaco plummets helplessly through space, the EEV is hurled out of its hold and crashes onto an isolated section of the mining planet and penal colony, Furina 161. This is a place so dark, so dreary, so deep in space that it has all but been forgotten by civilization. For its inhabitants, salvation seems hopeless. Upon impact, the EEV is seriously damaged and the cryotubes holding Newt and Hicks are shattered, leaving them dead. Bishop, the android, is shattered and reduced to negative capability, while Ripley is left unconscious, but alive. The planet Fiorina 161 is inhabited by hardcore individuals who are convicts serving time in this maximum security facility. These outcasts were left on the planet as a maintenance crew. They are joined in this otherworldly existence by a medical officer and 2 supervisors. The men are thieves, rapists, murderers, the worst of the worst. Clemens, the medical officer, is able to rescue Ripley and bring her back to life. Suspecting that the aliens have followed her to Fiorina 161, Ripley attempts to prove her worst fears are true. She knows that the company, the private corporation that financed her many space explorations, considers the aliens to be an important species and has ordered them not to be harmed. The company has millions of dollars invested in the Alien Retrieval Project, which would bring this strain of hideous killing machines back to Earth to be used for world domination. Ripley is aware of their devious plan and knows that they must be stopped. Ripley's worst fears have now become true. She has indeed brought the aliens to Fiorina 161, and they are now growing in number and will eventually find a way to leave this barren planet and make their way to a more populated, more civilized world. Earth. Ripley now takes on her most important assignment. She must rescue the aliens' captives and find and destroy the aliens themselves. That thumping is your heartbeat as you get set to confront the alien terror. The manual includes some helpful loading instructions as well, a step-by-step process just in case you've never started up a Nintendo game before. Maybe a little silly to look at today, but at the time it perhaps wasn't the most obvious thing in the world to load up your home entertainment video games. It's kind of quaint, actually. And you will note that nowhere in these instructions does it advise to blow on the cartridge. This is bad for your games, Nintendo collectors. Please don't blow on the cartridges. The next page is Getting Off to a Quick Start. You have options, the manual proclaims. At the Alien 3 title screen, choose options by pressing Start on the Nintendo Entertainment System controller to bring up the option selections. Here we have the options to toggle music on or off, sound effects on or off, and the game configuration. The difficulty options for the game are easy, normal, or hard. If you're playing the game for the first time, I can't recommend easy enough. Keep in mind this is Nintendo, even easy is hard. Considering all the challenges the game throws your way, trust me, there's no shame in selecting easy mode. On this menu, you can also sample some of the music and sound effects, and select the number of tries the game gives you. The maximum you can set this to is 9 tries. Again, no shame in choosing the max amount of tries. Chances are, you'll need them. The Task at Hand page of the manual provides a screenshot with a label of the information you'll see on the screen when playing the game. Ammo meter, weapon select, gun meter, score, time/prisoners remaining, life meter, and radar, or motion tracker if you prefer. You can never have enough firepower. Your arsenal of weapons is recorded in the status area at the bottom of the screen. Use Select to view and choose your weapons in the window to the far left. The ammo meter is next to your weapon selection. As you use the ammunition to kill the aliens, it will automatically count down. The gun meter registers the rate at which your weapon is heating up. Keep track of this or your weapon will seize. The score meter is located to the right of the gun meter. The time and the amount of prisoners left to rescue are registered on the meter just under the score meter. Next and to the right, you will find Ripley's life meter. Its energy can be replenished by finding first aid pickups. If you're cautious, these will not be a necessity. The radar screen can be found to the far right in the status area. It will be activated when and if you find batteries to power it. Change weapons, change strategy. The grenade launcher and the hand grenades are so powerful that you will find their result to be more immediate than that of the pulse rifle or flamethrower. Don't be afraid to let loose with your weapons on the aliens. It's either them or you, and it might as well be them. Don't give them a second chance. The pulse rifle is a primitive yet effective rapid-fire weapon. It takes multiple shots to eliminate an alien, but who's counting? Once they're destroyed, they stay destroyed. The pulse rifle has a high capacity and is also good for firing while on the run. It is not terribly powerful, but it is efficient. The flamethrower is a really nasty weapon. It fries your enemies to a crisp. It is a good weapon to use when you are forced to fight in tight quarters. Just spin around and burn everything in sight. This weapon is especially effective against certain aliens, but it's up to you to find out which ones. The grenade launcher is the most powerful weapon in your arsenal. It combines good range with a high level of damage. You have to become comfortable with the handling and timing of this weapon. The hand grenade weapon offers a variety of benefits. It can be dropped down holes and tossed around corners. Throw it into a darkened area before risking entry. Don't forget, though, that a grenade has a timer. Make sure you release it and stand clear before it's too late. Reconnaissance. Activate the radar screen in the lower right-hand corner of the screen by picking up batteries. The prisoners have been separated and isolated. You can locate them on the radar screen, but locating them is not the same as actually reaching them. This high-security facility has been designed in such a way that it includes the most confusing and frustrating maze-like series of passageways, ladders, and tunnels that you will ever see. You might find that the easiest way to reach a prisoner is not necessarily the shortest way. Consider all of your options before you run off into the darkness. For best gameplay, learn the different button options before you run off into the darkness. You must assume control. For best gameplay, learn the different button functions before you start. D-pad. Press right, left to walk / crawl. Press and hold in either direction to run or crawl continuously. Press up or down to climb ladders, open doors, and access elevators. Press down to crouch and pick up items. Select. Press to select weapons. Start / pause. B, jump. A is shoot. Timing is essential. Each stage must be completed within a certain time period. Time varies from stage to stage. As you enter a stage, check the clock. You can continue to check your time as you race from prisoner to prisoner. Search the entire subterranean mineral ore refinery for hidden aliens, pickups, and bonus ammunition. You'll never know what you'll stumble across as you explore the maximum security work correctional facility. As you go from stage to stage, explore every air shaft, crawl through every tunnel, check inside every cavern. You know the drill. Seek and destroy, but keep alert, always. There is no time to relax. Scoring. Increase your score as you make your way through the prison's dark and dreary interior. Point values. Liberate a prisoner, 150 points. Destroy an adult alien, 50 points. Destroy guardian alien, 50 points. Eliminate a facehugger, 30 points. Blow up a pod, 30 points. Collect icon, 10 points. What are these things? Adult aliens are very large, very fast, and very powerful. They are killers. They want to destroy everyone. Some will attack head-on, and others will spit their lethal acid blood at you. No matter which type you are facing, use extreme caution. The facehuggers are a completely different story. They are parasites who want to invade your body and use you as a host for bringing more aliens into the world. When they attach themselves to your face, they suck all the life and energy out of you, escaping the grasp of the facehuggers. To shake them loose, toggle rapidly between left and right arrows on the Nintendo Entertainment System controller. Be fast, because as long as the hugger hangs on, you are immobilized and the clock is running down. The time has come. There is no more time for thought. It is now time for action. It might appear to be hopeless, but you still must search everywhere. Crawl through every blackened tunnel, jump through every opening in the walls. You must destroy every hidden alien pod before the beasts have a chance to hatch. Leave one of these unharmed, and you just might be allowing the alien population to start all over again. Take chances if you have to. Dive into the blackness. Secret room? Might be holding rewards or hiding dangers, but there's no way of finding out unless you go for it. Remember, it is only you who stands in the way of the aliens' total domination of the planet, and possibly the universe. You must put your life on the line, to bring to an end once and for all a creature who has been haunting you for far too long. The aliens must be stopped here. Stopped now. You must search everywhere, jump through the wall, crawl through the black tunnel to reach every secret room. Destroy every hidden alien pod. The survival of even one alien could mean that Earth is in danger. Dive into the blackness, pick up ammunition in secret rooms. You have to work blind, but it's worth the bonus. Without you, the aliens will take over. Remember, they bleed acid. They hunger for humans. They destroy their host. And that's it for the manual. Pretty intense stuff. There's also warranty info, FCC compliance info, and an ad for the Terminator 2 and Alien 3 Game Boy cartridges. He's back, she's back. 2 great games, and you should now be ready to play the NES version of Alien 3. Jumping into the game is simple enough. No cutscenes, no tutorial. This is old school Nintendo. You're playing as Ripley, thrust onto the surface of Fury 161, forced to make your way deep into its bowels to save the cocooned prisoners and eliminate all of the aliens in your way. It doesn't take too long to adapt to the gameplay and figure out what you need to do. This isn't the standard type of point A to point B run and gunner. The layout of each stage is maze-like, opportune with different approaches and orders to find the prisoners. Each level has a certain number of prisoners for you to rescue, a certain amount of time in which to do it, and a specific exit leading you to the next stage. If you fail to free all of the required prisoners within the allotted time, your turn is over, and you'll have to start the level again from scratch. You're treated to an end screen showing a prisoner with a chest burster ripping out of him with the message, "Time up. You failed to rescue all the prisoners." As a pretty nice courtesy, though, the screen will scroll through the map and reveal the location of all the prisoners you missed, while also showing them die horribly thanks to your failure. But at least for your next turn, you'll have an idea of where to go and plan your next moves accordingly. Now, it is also very important to not just rescue the prisoners, but to make it to the exit in time as well. If you successfully rescue your bounded bald brethren but fail to reach the exit before the timer runs out, the mission is considered a failure. The screen will say "Time up," and you'll have to start again. And needless to say, you can also fail your mission by losing all your health. If you get knocked out by too many aliens, or if you take too many long falls, eventually your health will run down to 0 and you're dead. Use up all of your tries and you get the game over screen. A point of view of Ripley, hand outstretched, staring down a corridor and moving towards the light. More often than not, your biggest challenge in the game is going to be overcoming the time limit. You're usually well armed enough to be able to handle the xenomorph attacks that come your way. While obviously we have a great deal more aliens to face off against than in the actual film, they don't go too overboard in terms of enemy amount or variety. The main type of aliens pursuing you are the full-size adult aliens and the slightly smaller, younger aliens. They're quadrupedal, much like the alien in Alien 3, but these sprites are colored blue instead of the more brownish shade we see in the film. Probably a wise choice given the limitations of detail we get in the 8-bit Nintendo games. If they were brown, they might not stand out as much, and it could probably end up looking like Ripley's fighting a bunch of giant turds. So blue is just fine. They run, they jump, they wait for you on the ceiling, they sometimes even come out of the vents to grab you, and with each progressive level, they get harder to kill. Occasionally, you may run into a lone egg, or pod as described in the manual, and have to watch out for the facehugger that leaps out. As the manual warns, they can attach themselves to you, and quickly drain your life bar, as well as drain valuable time to save the prisoners. The most interesting addition to the enemies here comes in the form of the area bosses. Every 2 stages, you'll have to fight a guardian. These are larger, not quite queen-sized aliens that we could best determine to be Praetorians. This might actually be the first time such a version of the alien has been depicted in a video game, the only reference prior being the Guardians in the 1990 Earth War comics from Dark Horse. These Guardian stages certainly change the pace a little bit. You're locked in the area until you defeat the boss, and this also needs to be done within a certain time frame. They're straightforward enough to take down, though. Once you get their pattern down, you can effectively maneuver around their running and jumping and acid spitting. And that's really about it for the on-screen enemies. Even when you reach the final boss stage, there's not too much of a surprise. You don't encounter a queen like you might expect. Instead, you have to fight 2 Guardian aliens. But if you're willing to go through all 8 stages of this game, fight all the aliens, save all the prisoners, win the day once and for all, then you'll be treated to the final end scene. As Ripley leaves Fury 161, she turns back one last time. It is done. Well done. You have rid the planet of the alien menace and won the game. Credits. Wow. So just imagine for a moment you're a kid back in 1993. You've picked up this game not knowing anything about the Alien movies, but knowing enough about Nintendo since you're a kid, and this is a reasonably hyped up and well-circulated title. Maybe you get through the whole thing, or maybe not, but enough to get an idea of what the movie this game is based upon must be like. Then, a little later, the movie makes its way to cable, or maybe your parents rent it on tape and let you watch it, whatever the case may be. And you see it all unfold, just wondering, Is this the same movie? Where are all the guns? Where are all the prisoners being cocooned? Why is there only one alien? Ripley dies at the end? What? Did the people who made this game even watch the movie? The answer to that is more than likely no. If you're familiar enough with Alien 3 at this point, you know about all the production troubles and the script changes, and how while the absence of weapons was always among its concepts, there was a period where we would in fact see prisoners cocooned. A while back, I actually received a pretty interesting comment from someone claiming to have worked on the game. Here's what that user had to say. I remember a long time ago working for Acclaim Studios London over Croydon Way. A lady from Virgin, game publisher, and a random bloke in a suit walked in the office. They had a script and bits of the storyboard for Alien 3, asked if we could make a game to coincide with release of the film, which no one knew about, and we said yes. That was the last time we heard till the release. I remember someone coming back from the premiere saying, "The game is nothing like the fucking film, we're fucked." But my boss said, "It's just like the storyboards and script they gave us." It was a long time ago, I just remember there was a reason Ripley has weapons, inmates are cocooned, and there's more than one alien all in the game. So, there you have it. Not really surprising given the era. The developers get a rough sketch of what to work with and make the game. More modern games would end up working more closely with the production of a movie, even including the voice work of cast members, working the plot together more closely, or even having some tangential story that works into or complements the finished film in some way. But back then, you really just needed the title and poster art, and the rest may vary. It is, and was, always about marketing, especially back then. If calculated carefully enough, a big event movie such as this would generally have a much larger lifespan. There was the theatrical release and box office numbers to be sure, but several months to a year later it could remain within the public consciousness. It wouldn't matter if the game was released so much later than the theatrical release of the movie, because at that point you'd still have the video rentals, video sales, pay-per-view, and eventual cable runs that would still pull in big business for a movie. Back then, a single movie could keep making steady money for 2 to 3 years. It was truly Camelot. To give the game a little bit of credit, though, I'd say it's at least a passably recognizable video game interpretation of Alien 3 as far as aesthetics go. For an 8-bit sprite, that is unmistakably Alien 3 Ripley, no doubt there. In its NES minimalist way, the areas do have a Fury 161 kind of feel to them. Endless corridors, air ducts, some vents here and there. It definitely stands to reason that the developers did in fact have some concept art to work with. The surface of the installation definitely bears resemblance to what we see in the film, though most of these establishing exterior shots wouldn't be seen until the release of the special edition. In some stages, you even run into what appears to be livestock chained to the wall with the gaping chestburster wounds that suggest the aliens come from oxen, just like Babe, also something we wouldn't see until the special edition years later. I'd even like to believe that in the later stages, Ripley makes her way through the leadworks, though admittedly the downpouring liquid looks a lot more like water than anything else. But if we can forgive this video game adaptation for not being completely faithful to its source, does it at least stand on its own as a good game? Well, it's alright. Maybe the biggest irony here is that it clearly tries to be the type of game that combines the spirits of games such as Metroid and Contra, both of which were they themselves inspired by the Alien series, but it comes off as being a pale-by-comparison imitator. It lacks the immersive feeling and true sense of discovery of something like Metroid, and lacks the relentless heart-pounding action of Contra. I think that if they went for one style over another, and ditched the arcade timer gimmick, the game would have been much more satisfying overall. There's definitely some gameplay issues that hold it back. Your sprite tends to run further than the center of the screen, so it's always scrolling to catch up to you. It's pretty annoying. And that means you're never really going to know what's directly ahead of you, and you'll constantly have to stop and shoot just to be safe. More often than not, you're going to run right into an alien. See the little motion tracker, the radar on your screen? Even with the batteries, it's pretty much decorative for all it's worth. The controls aren't too bad. They're a little stiff, but you can get used to it pretty quickly. What kills it, though, is the old A-B switcheroo with the jump and action functions. It's so simple. It's so hard to fuck up, and yet they do. A should be jump, B should be shoot. Any Nintendo game worth its salt knows this. Here it's the opposite, and just because the normal way is so ingrained into my muscle memory, So instinctually bound to my brain by all the years of my youth playing Nintendo, I constantly found myself pressing the wrong button to jump. And in a game like this, with many pitfalls, that's going to cause some major accidents. A lot of the times I'll find myself falling and tumbling down, hitting all kinds of surfaces along the way as Ripley bounces around like a pinball. Yeah, it's kind of funny to see the first few times, but when you're really crunching it and you have to save one more prisoner with precious seconds left, it's really frustrating. The controls come with some restrictions too. If you want to climb a ladder, you have to be precisely in the right place to get it to work. You also can't jump while climbing a ladder, so you either have to get all the way to the top, all the way to the bottom, or try your luck dropping a grenade if there's an enemy in your way. You also can't shoot and jump at the same time, which is a very useful function in games such as Metroid and Contra, and becomes a hindrance here, especially when there's an alien above you or when you're fighting a guardian. At the very least, you can duck and shoot at the same time. One of the highlights of the game actually ends up being its soundtrack. The background music is actually really good and has variety. This is especially appreciated during some of the longer stretches of no action, such as in the tunnels, where it's just you and the music. The sound effects are decent too. The weapons sound just about right. The firing of the rifle, the pumping of the grenade launcher, the hiss of the flamethrower, the clanging of the hand grenades. It's all nicely done. It would have been nice to have a clicking sound effect when you run out of ammo, which can happen pretty quickly, so instead of an audio indicator, you always have to keep an eye on the counter on the screen. There's also little thuds when Ripley makes a jump, some nice effects for when you have to open a door, but the cheesiest of the sound effects come when you kill an alien. It kind of sounds like when Pac-Man dies. I think they could have done better with that. Overall, the game is perfectly playable. I think the other consoles at the time did a better job with this title, and I definitely want to cover those in videos as well, but maybe Alien 3 just wasn't the ideal entry in the series to translate into a video game. It was adapted and changed and treated this way because simply it was the new movie at the time. It was a cog in the much larger promotional machinery. I definitely have some nostalgia for it, find some novelty in it, but that was then. This is now. Video games have become much more advanced, much more in tune with the look and feel of a franchise if applicable. The time for an Alien 3 game has come and gone, but I think Fury 161 is always going to be a worthwhile environment to revisit in Aliens-related games. I loved seeing Fury-inspired levels in games such as Alien Trilogy and Alien vs. Predator, both much better games than this one, and having the feeling of running through the labyrinth leadworks as the aliens could be around any corner. Personally, I think it still could work today as a setting. If they were ever to make an Alien Isolation sequel, for example, I think instead of retreading a Nostromo-like environment, they could try for something a little more like Fury 161. It's full of atmosphere and dread, and rife for beautiful imagery. That was something I felt was missing from the most recent Alien franchise game, Fireteam Elite, though to its credit, the runner alien from Alien 3 has been firmly established as a unique enemy, and with a fairly recent update, you can also now adorn your Marine with the Weyland-Yutani dogcatcher suit, as seen in the film. So, at least in some way, Alien 3's legacy in video game form still lives on. Have you played Alien 3 on the NES? Do you have any fond memories of it, or maybe not so fond memories? Or did you lean more towards the Genesis and Super Nintendo versions? Comment below and let me know. As always, I'd like to thank you very much for watching today. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave it a like and be sure to subscribe to the channel to keep up with future videos. A very special thanks goes out to Brandon James, Grizz4756, Ronni Jensen, and XenoShadowMorph, Queen Tears of the Patreon Hive. Thank you to Gregory Ford and John Griggs, the Hive's Guardians. A very special thanks, as always, to Lady Anne in the Ellen Ripley Tier of Excellence, and in the role of Weyland-Yutani executives, Michael Cole, Nicholas Butta, and Wesley A. Weaver Jr. Thank you all. In the meantime, you can catch up with Alien Theory over social media. Follow @alien_theory on Twitter and @alientheoryyt on Facebook and Instagram for more. I'll see you again soon. I wish you all happy gaming, and until next time, this is Alien Theory, signing off.